Welcome everybody to the third Animas Coaching Summit. For those of you who've already attended a few sessions with Animas, hope you really enjoyed the day. For those who's the first session, welcome. And now to introduce Jean-François, he's going to talk a bit more about himself, so I won't do a long introduction. I'll leave that to him. So he's going to help us explore the associate coaching and portfolio career topic that it's of interest for many coaches today. So Jean-François, it's a great pleasure to have you here today, and I'd like to hand over to you.
Thanks very much, Andrea, for a very calming creation of the space for our discussion today. I feel like we're all going to get along because we're all coaches, or I believe probably most of us are coaches. And I love what you referenced in terms of this being a safe space. So the first thing I want to say is, first of all, thank you to Animas for being a fantastic partner, for creating this space, for promoting our engagement, our ability to learn and develop as coaches, and for supporting I call it a profession. We could probably get over semantics and a debate over semantics, but for supporting this profession that we call ours, I think it's incredibly important. And you'll understand my reasons and Wabya's reasons underlying why we think it's important. But obviously, if most of us are coaches, if not all of us are coaches, you all understand fundamentally why this is such an important thing to have in the world. Secondly, as Andrea mentioned, it is a safe space. Come ready to be open and kind of lean into the session today. I've tried to make it as interactive as possible. We have almost 50 people now in the space, so it is going to be relatively interactive. If at any point you don't like what you're hearing, please leave. There are other sessions that are happening at the same time. Maybe another session is more interesting. If this one isn't, I will not take it personally if you decide to explore something else and hop off either at the beginning, in the middle, or near the end of this conversation. We will be talking about associate coaching. Maybe some of us attended Alejandra's session earlier this morning. Alejandra and I had a discussion actually yesterday, just so we could discuss what we were each covering. And I'm glad to say that there will be a nice dovetailing, probably not an overlap. So if you have attended Alejandra's session earlier today, then I'm excited because this should enhance your experience with her. Just to get us a little bit warmed up, I'm going to ask all of you to use the chat and to select two emojis. The first one is how you're arriving, your vibe today. Mine is the peace sign. And the second one is where you are joining us from. Mine is Canada. So I'm going to give you just a few seconds to hop on the chat, give us your emoji vibe and your emoji location, as everybody can see how international we are. If you're having any issues, you can also use words. I will also accept words if emojis are not available. There we go. Got fist bumps in England, UK, West Wales. Extremely specific. I like it. We got Spain in the building. Fantastic. Kenya, Southeast London. I'm loving the scope here. Some people from Germany. Right. And as all of this is coming in and everyone is starting to get acquainted with each other, Ghost Cloud, love it. Also grab some writing implements if you have them, pen and paper, if you're more traditional, or the digital equivalent. So your keyboard and, I don't know, a draft email or a Word document or a Google document, or one of the many ways that you can take notes. We will be getting into a little bit of free writing in the second part of this session. Okay, right. Let's kick things off. First of all, let's begin with the beginning. I had an objective in mind with this session, and I want to make sure that everybody is aligned with my objective for the session. It is to encourage you to think of your coaching practice within the greater context of your life, and to promote associate coaching as one option available to you as part of a fulfilling career. Right? So it's coaching, career, and life. Those are the big things I want to address today. And ultimately, my intention is to hopefully provide a different perspective on associate coaching and help you determine if it's right for you if you haven't embarked on the journey yet. and really specifically if it fits, how it fits in your coaching journey, and more widely in your concept of a career. Okay, so these are the objectives for the session, and that is my intention. Now, I'm going to ask you to take 1 minute to set your own intention for this session as well. You have 3 questions on this slide. Pick one that resonates, make up another one. You're all coaches, right? So you probably know a really good question, but I'm giving you 60 seconds now to come up with an intention using a prompt of your choosing. Okay, now we have our objectives. We have my intention. We have your intention. We are now in a position to create something fantastic. I will tell you how we're going to go about that today. It's going to be divided into 3 parts. The first part's going to be about 10, 15 minutes. The second chunkiest part is really going to be about you. That's going to be about 40, 45 minutes. And the last part is going to be about 15 minutes near the end where we bring everything together. Part 1 is really going to be about my and Wabya's story. And then how associate coaching fits into that story specifically. And part 2 is going to be setting the scene for your own personal reflections. I'm going to invite people as well to share during this part of the presentation during part 2 to stimulate further thinking amongst the group. And then finally, part 3 is going to be where we wrap things up, and you'll have a chance to work with someone in order to kind of bring everything together in your mind so that you can come to a conclusion aligned with your intention that is right for you. All right, let's kick off. Part 1. This is where I want you to connect with my personal journey and understand how it led me to redefine career success in alignment with my purpose. Now, as I share this first part of this presentation, of this workshop, please do think about any parallels in your own journey. These might help you think about yourself and your intention slightly differently as I provide some color commentary about moi. Now, I'm a boomer's kid, right? My parents are nearing 70 now. And so from a nurturing standpoint, I very much grew up with the notion that a career was for life. That's my parents. My dad was 26 years with one company, 20 years with another company, retired. My mom either was with a company for most of her life or worked as a contractor for companies for most of her life. And so for me, the notion of a career from a very young age was really about you start a career, then you get to retirement, then you can enjoy your life. It didn't work out that way. I did a good 14-year stint, and then I burned out, which was a massive transition for me. And this burnout made me realize that I'd been living someone else's dream for years, not my own. And that awareness was, as you can imagine, pretty life-changing, and it forced me to confront what really mattered to me. As part of my burnout recovery, I spent a lot of time thinking about who I was because I had realized, which I suppose is what had promoted the burnout, that I was doing something that was so far removed from who I was, but then also that I had no idea who I was. Now you have to understand, I left a 6-figure salary with the full benefits, and I was, a few echelons removed from the stratospheres of a FTSE 5 company. But that did not really fulfill me at all, and that emptiness became something that I sought to explore and to fill, for lack of a better term. And so what I did is I spent a lot of time thinking about myself. I discovered my core value, and very critically, and this was another big pivotal and transitional moment for me, I discovered what my purpose was as part of this exploration. And I realized that my purpose was to help others realize their purpose. So for me, self-realizing means actually helping others self-realize, because my fundamental belief I discovered is that if we help individuals self-realize, then we promote the vision of a fully realized world, which is not going to happen in my lifetime, not in yours, and probably not in many lifetimes, but self-realization leading to collective realization, where hopefully we transcend and live in a beautiful utopia. But my point here is that my purpose became quite clear to me. Now, this is all very nebulous at that juncture, and I had to ask myself, how do I help others self-realize? And for reasons that you will hopefully clearly understand, it dawned on me that coaching was the perfect vehicle for that, right? That's the way I could support others to uncover what was right for them and help them put that into action, because coaching treats people as the expert that they are on themselves, treats people as the unique individuals they are, and helps them uncover what's right for them without telling them what that is. And so as I retrained as a coach, Um, it was all great. And I started having my own private clients. And I also became an associate coach quite early on in my coaching career for Ezra, which probably many of you know. It's one of the bigger coaching platforms, coaching aggregators out there. I still work with Ezra. But through all of that, something was missing. It wasn't really enough to achieve my purpose. And there came this, I suppose, next transition moment. I wanted to have a bigger impact than just individual coaching. And that's really how Wabya came about. Now, Wabya was an idea that I had, and it so happened that an ex-colleague of mine, Craig, who is actually on this call today with us and who is training as a coach, also had simultaneously. So the universe was pointing in the right direction. And we kind of found each other at the perfect time. And we decided that, yes, coaching was the means to self-realize, but really early on in 2021, we knew that our business wasn't coaching, our business was self-realization, because we both agreed that this was the means by which we could elevate basically, the collective for everyone everywhere on earth. We had to start somewhere, and that's why we picked coaching. And we were quite inspired by the fact that there seemed to be gaps in the industry where a lot of the coaching aggregator platforms were really focused on, the big enterprises and mid-market players of this world. So we're talking about Coach Hub and BetterUp and Ezra focusing on the Spotifys, the Nikes, and other big players. We wanted to bring this to as many people as possible. And really, from a client standpoint, the notion was to be able to make self-realization accessible and affordable. Because it shouldn't only be for high-flying executives, as we all know. Everybody can benefit from coaching. And for coaches, yes, it was about helping coaches, and it is about helping coaches build their practice and their skills, but also it's about creating something that coaches can be proud to be a part of, a community with a really strong and clear sense of ethos. And actually, Wabya is an acronym for We Are Because You Are. So even in our name, we have this notion that is inbuilt that the individual is indivisible from the collective. And so for me personally, Wabya became this manifestation, this greater manifestation of what I wanted to accomplish in terms of what my purpose was. And really, this is also the reality that I am not separating any longer who I am from what I do. Wabya is who I am. Coaching is who I am. The means by which I realize myself, helping others realize there's no distance anymore between what I do and how I go about it. And this is helping me bring my vision to life. And this is really interesting because actually dovetails beautifully in our views on associate coaching, right? The idea, and what I'm telling you right now, is that associate coaching is not a sustainable path to a six-figure coaching practice. It just isn't. It is not sustainable. You will burn out if you stack 5, 6 coaching sessions a day, 5 to 6 days a week, just to get to 4, maybe 5 figures at the end of the month. And so the way that we've structured Wabya and the way that we've always understood this notion of a coaching aggregating platform was that this was always going to be part of a holistic approach to career. And this is what we've been really transparent with our coaches about, the coaches that work with us. We are supporting them in creating multiple approaches to income streams because we also believe, especially post-pandemic, that a portfolio career is the right way to go about having different sources of income in a way that supports fully who they are and what they want to accomplish. Now, what's really interesting as well is if you think about developing countries, having multiple sources of income is just a normal way to live because you need different sources of income in order to put food on your table and a roof over your head. Anyway, for me, I can't speak for everyone here, but for me, and from my perspective in the Western world, what we experience post-pandemic is the realization that maybe putting all of our eggs in one basket from a career standpoint was the wrong way to go about it. And since then, that's what I've done for my career. And the way I look at my career is there is no gap between my career and my life. My career is part of my life. I am what I do. I am what I do. But also I want to provide that to others. And that's what Wabya is serving. Now, it's also the opportunity for us to help reframe coaching and career. And we want to do that today so that you can recreate or create the path that is right for you. We'll maybe explore the path that you're on and gauge whether or not it is right for you. Okay. this is leading us really nicely into part two. I can open the floor right now, maybe for one or two questions. I'm going to ask you to unmute yourselves. If you want to ask a question, or maybe you raise your hand, and then I can field a question or two before we go into the next part. And if there are no questions, that's absolutely fine. We can keep rolling. All right. Anyone? Oh, yes, David.
Just a quick one. I loved what you said about the importance of sort of portfolio careers and the changing landscape of the world of employment. And I'd heard on a podcast recently that in 10 years, it's predicted that 50% of us will be kind of self-employed and will have multiple streams of income. I wondered if you've heard things like that about the near and medium to long-term future.
Yeah, David, I mean, thank you for reaffirming kind of what we felt for a long time. And I've got to be honest with you. I think one thing that's helped us realize this as well is we have run a coaching pilot with an SME in Nigeria. And the coaching clients that have turned up have very, very practical considerations and have multiple income streams. And that's something we've discussed, obviously, without breaking client confidentiality within the context of our coaching group. And how do we get our coaches, which actually we have a lot of westernized coaches, right? Developed country coaches. How do we actually tackle these situations? So yes, I fully agree with you. I think the data supports this. I think we've seen this support this practically through Wabya. But also, I think it's just logical to really start thinking about how can I realize myself in different ways that actually move me instead of just going like, and by the way, having like an employment, being employed by someone can be one of those ways, right? It doesn't need to fall by the wayside, but that doesn't mean that you should be able to, I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 days a week, do a bit of coaching or do a bit of consulting or mentoring or whatever it is. So yes, in support of the data that you've seen, podcasting and everything, I think the trend is seeing, but we've seen that like practically in terms of our coaching clients and the conversations that we've had. Cool. All right, folks, we're going to move on to the next section. I just want to try to keep us on time. And right now we're running 5 minutes over time. So maybe we'll catch up a little bit on the timing at the end. We'll open up the floor for a few more questions if we get through the next little bit. But I really want the most of this part to be about you, right? So this section, part two, I'm going to encourage you to like think about what I said in part one, but I really want you to explore some of your core motivations, some of your values, and some of your fears around the notion of a coaching career, around your life, and prompt deeper self-reflection, really specifically on whether associate coaching aligns with your broader vision of that career or that life that you envision for yourself. So think about this, the next few parts, right? There's going to be 4 parts within the specific part 2 as an opportunity to free write. So what I'm encouraging you to do is when I prompt you and you look at those questions, just start writing without overly censoring yourself. And we'll have an opportunity for some people to share, if they feel like it, what that's come up for them so that the group can benefit from it. By the way, again, if you're all coaches, if the questions don't stick, please select ones that do. You can find better question. I am absolutely sure. So use your coaching superpowers. Okay, so we're going to start soft and easy with a warm up. So I'm going to give you now 4 minutes to answer these questions or a very similar question. What drew you to coaching, and where are the unique skills or gifts that you bring to coaching? And please remember, go with a free writing style approach. Don't overly censor yourself. Right, we will be moving on to our next bit. So this was the warm up. We're now going to move into a little bit of a deeper part of our exploration. So have a look at these 2 questions. I'm going to give you 5 minutes starting now to answer these questions or better questions that you may come up with. Really, the first one is about exploring your values, and the second one is about a fulfilled life and how coaching contributes to it. So 5 minutes. Look, folks, I will now move us on to section 3. And I want to give you a bit more time on section 3 because there's a bit of shadow work that's now involved, right? And it's going to ask maybe that you free write and then you interrogate yourself and actually try to look at those shadow areas. So we're going to be exploring barriers now. Moving on from section 1, section 2, now this is about how is fear influencing this path that you're on? And if you were to remove any stories holding you back, not your back, you back, what would an ideal career involving coaching look like for you? So I'm going to give everyone 7 minutes starting now to go deep into this and use all your coaching skills. So maybe you start with a free write and then look at what you've written and go, is this actually it? Is this true? Is this the full picture? All right. I'll cue you when we're halfway through. Yeah, David.
Right, just to say, really enjoyed that activity, and it was the second bit you got us to do, which was what questions would you ask yourself? And I wrote down some really powerful questions, but I assume we'll come on to that next, so I won't share them.
Well, no, please do share them because we're moving towards I've got to keep this the ship on track, this train on track right now. So do share if actually what have you noticed with the stuff that you've written down? What questions would you actually have asked a client? That's what you're saying, David, right? Like,
yeah,
what questions that you?
Really briefly, just how real are these fears, and how are they serving you, and like what actually energizes and excites you the most, and how are your values being met by these kind of different streams of income?
Yeah, I want to pick that ball up, David, and really like go back to something most people said about fear of earning. Because I have the same fear, and I've had the same fear, and I've had to deal with it. But I constantly forget that I am employable, right? I have now a number of years of coaching, and I've got a 14-year corporate career. And if I wanted to, I could go work in a pub across the street and still find a way to trust myself and actually find a way to earn money. The problem that I had, and I still have in many instances, I'm trying to decouple myself from it, is seeing money as the object. Whereas money is meant to facilitate the path to the object, which is whatever it is that you envisioned for your best life, right? The vision that you have for your life. I really hope that we can pass that on to next generations. I am sure some of you have children. I hope you're passing on this kind of shift of perspective, helping them maybe develop the notion of a portfolio career to have the money that they need in the way that, and that they can earn it in the way that actually fulfills them, rather than us sitting here maybe from an older generation going like, well, I have to have money. I don't even trust myself enough to go out, or to, if I had to go out and be able to earn. All of us here, I am 100% sure, would be able tomorrow to really start applying for jobs and find something, even stacking boxes of Sainsbury's, as some people had to do during the pandemic. We are all able to find work to do in order to take care of our basic needs. All right. Thanks very much for sharing, David. Thanks, everyone. Great shares in the chat. Let's bring this train home now and really bring it back to the topic of this session, which is really about associate coaching. So I'll give you 5 minutes now. Given what we've explored in section 1, section 2, section 3, what you've heard from others, and where you are right now, you're digesting all of this. How could associate coaching actually play a role in this broader career vision that you've just outlined for yourself? And what might it enable that a singular coaching path couldn't, or a singular career path, right? So coaching, career, interchangeable here. So 5 minutes starting now. I think you've ticked the box on a number of things that many people have said. Giving yourself more time, a little bit of additional income, having the opportunity to help people from different backgrounds. Yeah, these are all really good reasons. And you've said a number of other lists that associate coaching can definitely play a role in. And I think what I'd like to add on top of this, and this is kind of a thought of mine, is we have to remember, I think, that like coaching is still quite young in many ways. It's only a couple of decades old, right? It's not the world's oldest profession, the way that it's structured right now. And actually, from a Wabya standpoint, we see that there's so much runway And currently, when you actually think about it, there are maybe 3 big coaching aggregator platforms, maybe 4 in the world, right? Coach Hub, BetterUp, Ezra, which is the Adecco group, and maybe there's, I don't know, another one. And there are a few smaller ones like Wabya, More Happy is one of them that's like quite budget and, more on the affordable side. But part of what we want to do with Wabya is also educate and promote the awareness for people to understand a bit more what coaching is, because we find that one of the biggest problems that exist is that people think they understand coaching, but really to understand coaching, you need to have experience, and especially certified, formalized coaching. So there's a lot of space for growth, and there will be more opportunities for more and more associate coaches. So we're really seeing the space grow, and especially from a B2C standpoint. We'll get back to the question that was asked earlier, the B2B, B2C kind of angle. But Emma, thanks very much for sharing, and everyone, thanks for sharing your thoughts. And hopefully this section has really allowed you to think about yourself within the context of associate coaching, how it can fit into your life. And now we're going to bring it all together. Right. So this is final part, as we head towards the close of our session, where I really want to help you consolidate your insights and to clarify the role of coaching and associate coaching within your life and your career, so that you can find an actual, authentic next step for yourself, even just an immediate next step. And what we're going to do before we go into our breakout rooms, first of all, I just want to remind you of the objectives of this session. Okay, encouraging you to think of your coaching practice within the greater context of your life, and promoting associate coaching as one option available to you as part of a fulfilling career. And then I'd like to bring you back to your own intention. Go back to the top of your page, the first thing that you typed. What was your intention for this session? All right, just 30 seconds for you to really ground yourself back into it. And then we're going to provide you with a framework so that you have a mini coaching space for 10 minutes, one-to-one with someone. And I'm going to ask that you answer these 2 questions with each other. What have you gotten out of today's session? When you distill everything and look back to your intention, and given those insights, what one action are you going to take to move forward? Okay, team, we are going to be going slightly over time. Obviously, if you have somewhere to be right at this minute, please hop off. Thank you very much for joining. But I do want to create a little bit of space to do a proper closing, open up the floor for questions. Now, there are already a couple of questions that were asked. What I won't do is ask if you want to share what happened in your breakout rooms, please feel free to put it in the chat. However, the reason I created a space where you could have a one-to-one experience is so that you could share and come to your own conclusions, maybe more in a private setting. So hopefully everybody has closed very nicely, supported by a fellow coach. So that is coming up on the end of our conversation. I do want to encourage anyone who has any questions to post them in the chat. Now, I will answer Helen's question, which is very practical. How does it work? How does Wabya work? How does commission for Wabya and payment for coaches work? Look, the way that we operate right now is we have 2 coach categories. We have a foundations level coach, which is coaches that have less than 100 hours of experience, or ACC level. And we have advanced coaches, which are coaches that have more than 100 hours of experience, which is ACC plus. Now, you have to understand that we only work with coaches that are either ICF, Association of Coaching, or EMCC accredited, just because we believe in certified coaching. So if you have your ACC and above, you're an advanced. If you have ACC or below, if you're below ACC, then you're a foundations coach. And a foundations coach earns £20 for a 45-minute session. And what we do is we encourage the foundations coaches to move towards their accreditation so that they can move up to the advanced level. So that's the way we operate. And the advanced coaching is 45-minute sessions or £50 for a session. And you'll find very, very similar pricing across most of the platform. More happy, for example, don't pay their coaches, or if they do, it's something that's relatively new. Essentially, it's about trading opportunity to work for hours that bring you closer to your accreditation. Ezra pays £60 for an hour. So we are right in the ballpark. So that is the answer very quickly. Foundations, £20 until you get to ACC or equivalent. Then you get to £50 for 45-minute coaching sessions. We had a question earlier in the chat, which was about. It sounds like Wabya is more aimed at individuals than organizations. If you keep your prices pretty low, how does that ensure you still earn enough as a full-time coach in Wabya? So I'm going to repose the question that was posted earlier. We are definitely targeting individuals. However, we are very much in startup mode. So we are doing a little bit of work with small and medium businesses. We've just done some work with a scale-up. They have 10, 11 employees. So we are working as well with businesses. So just to clarify that, B2B is also within our scope. Prices are remaining pretty low. And just going back to what I said earlier, it is not my recommendation that you consider associate coaching as kind of like a full-time job, because I do believe that you will burn out. I have seen that happen, right? So the idea is, and we have said this, and we say this very transparently to all the coaches that want to work with us, that are part of our bench right now, have other coaching within your portfolio career. So most of our coaches already have private clients, that they've brought in themselves. Most of our coaches actually do something else on the side. Whether it's teaching, there's mentors, there are some consultants in there. We have some people that have kind of a full-time career, can only coach for a few hours, but every single coach on the Wabya bench has more than one income stream. So I would really encourage you to not think about associate coaching as a full-time opportunity, because you're going to start hating coaching, which I think would be really detrimental to the reason that we all get into coaching in the first place. Yes, thanks very much, Claire. We are trying to democratize coaching. We also understand and really want to make clear that it's not a sustainable path for kind of like, hey, I'm going to make £60,000 a year and be able to feed my family just doing that. Just to reiterate this. We do have a really wonderful community. We support each other in so many ways. We have quarterly development session. We have quarterly socials and business updates. We're very transparent with what's happening. We're a startup, and our first core value is openness. So we talk very, very openly about the challenges that we are facing as a startup. And I can even give you some recommendations. You can talk to some of our coaches if you want. Are there any additional questions? You can raise your hand, talk out loud, or post in the chat. Yeah, thanks, Sylvester. Appreciate you. How does your onboarding application process work? So you either go on our website, send us a contact note. What I'll do is I'll send you kind of a form, a questionnaire, a fit form, just to give us some information on who you are. It'll include a few basic questions, and we'll ask you to share your LinkedIn profile. I have to say, and this is a really good problem to have, we have a lot of coaches that are really resonating with how we're approaching coaching, and we have a lot of people asking to join. I respond to everyone who messages us. I try to have a half-hour video discussion with everyone that messages us, but it's only Craig and I right now that are doing this, and we're not even paying ourselves a salary. So there's a lot of stuff to handle. The other thing is to consider, we are not, we're not drinking clients out of a fire hose just quite yet. So all of our coaches are busy to a certain extent, a few hours of coaching. So we want to manage expectations with regards to, if you do kind of send us an email and say that you're interested, we might not bring you on board immediately. However, we would put you in our black book, and essentially we could get back to you when we have more clients coming in, which we're seeing is happening on a daily basis. We have more referrals. We're nearing the 100 clients coming through right now, which is really cool. And we're having more discussions with startups and scale-ups, which would provide access to kind of offering coaching to groups of people within organizations, which is also very interesting. So please reach out if you are interested, even if it's just to get your name in the book. So that way, when we do have more clients, we can bring you on board. Any other questions or anything that you'd like to share more widely, or any comments? I'm seeing some really great comments. Thank you again for seeing the honesty that we are providing here. I do want to reiterate here, and maybe I can use the example of myself. This isn't about like me as a coach. I don't identify, my mission is not to be a coach. Coaching is like how I kind of bring myself to life, right? It's a vehicle, right? My vision is of a fully realized world. My mission is actually to spread the word about self-realization, collective realization. I use coaching to do that. I use Wabya to do that. I use this to do that. I moderate panels, right, in the well-being space to do that. I'm part of podcasts to do that. There are many ways that I'm realizing myself. And that's really what I'd like to leave you with, right? You are a coach, but you are not a coach, if that makes sense. Coaching is a means by which you get to realize yourself. That's what I would like to leave you with. And just as a reminder. And then I would finally ask that you send an emoji. How has this session landed for you? What is the vibe post session? Maybe look at your first emoji, put that into the chat box so we can all close together.
And while you put in your lovely emojis, I'd like to say a big thank you, Jean-François. It was a real pleasure to have you as our presenter and speaker. And it was a very insightful session full of self-reflection, which I think was really refreshing and great to be part of. I saw a lot of thank yous and a lot of people appreciating this session. Thank you to all the participants. It was amazing to have you, to see how interactive this session was, how you truly participated and were present in the session. Hope to see you again very soon. The slides will be made available next week, and the recording will be made available as soon as we have edited it. So keep an eye on those emails from Animas.
Thanks very much, Andrea. Thanks, Animas, for holding the space. Thank you, everyone, for showing up, being true to yourselves, participating. It really made the session that much richer. And I'm going to wish you all a really fantastic evening or rest of your day, wherever you are in the world. Take good care, folks. Bye-bye. Have a good one.